Hello and welcome back
Sorry.
to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, your source for all things Everton. My name's Thomas, back with another opposition view for our game against Aston Villa. Joined by Dan Bardell from the Villa View and also now the Athletic. Dan, how have you been during lockdown? How are things for you?
Yeah, fine. To be honest, my life hasn't really been affected. I was missing the football initially when we had no football. Then it came back, and I wish it would go away again. But obviously, we won at the weekend, so it's been a bit of a better weekend. But yeah, I'm good, mate. Family's all been fine. Work's all been fine. So hopefully the same for you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm all good as well. Obviously, you said you're happy the football came back, but all of a sudden you weren't happy the football came back. Obviously, Villa didn't have a great start to the restart of football. Obviously, 2-0 win against Crystal Palace, just gone now. A good result now for where you're on the table, definitely, especially with Watford and West Ham and Bournemouth all picking up points. We'll just kind of start about where you're on the table now. Obviously, 35 games played, 30 points on the table with 4 from safety with 3 games to play. Those games being Everton, Arsenal and West Ham. Could you just start by telling us kind of what's gone wrong for Villa this season? Where do you think the problems have been?
The thing was, in the summer we lost a lot of players because we had a bit of an aging squad. There was a few players in the 30s, and we'd relied heavily on loans in the Championship. So we were never going to get Twanzebe and Abraham back, and they were 2 big players for us. So we had to recruit, and we had to recruit heavily. And you'll know, as Everton fans, when you buy a load of players, it's hard to gel a side together, and it's been difficult. But the problem has been is that the quality of the players that we've bought in the summer, they're probably not quite up to scratch, and we've ended up struggling. We've been too reliant on Grealish. We've had a few injuries as well. We've had issues with VAR, which I'm sure most teams will think they have, but we really have had some serious issues with VAR this season. It's just been too much of a battle for us. Dean Smith's been forced to play a type of football that he doesn't really want to play. He's had to go a bit more defensive, and we haven't looked like scoring. We haven't got a natural goal scorer at the club, and if you ain't got a striker, you're going to struggle to score goals, and then you're going to struggle to stay up. So we are where we are. We deserve to be where we are. We've given ourselves a chance at the weekend, but everyone else has won as well, which is a bit annoying. But we now need to do something which we haven't been very good at all season and win consecutive games and try and keep us up. So it's a tall order.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely looks tricky now. I think if Newcastle had just carried on and beaten Watford, I think that area of the table would have looked a lot more interesting now. But obviously,
Yeah.
4 points isn't loads. Obviously, you've still got Bournemouth above you, though, and West Ham still have some tricky games to play. How realistic do you think it is that you stay up? And so this is surely now a must-win game for Aston Villa at this point in the season.
Yeah, we've got to win on Thursday. It's massive. If we don't win, I think we're gone. So we've got to go to Goodison, and we've got to do something. I don't know whether it's a good or a bad thing that you played so badly against Wolves. I mean, I'd like to think that that's going to continue because we played Palace at the weekend, and they were pretty much on the beach, and that contributed to us winning the game. If I'm being perfectly honest, but if Ancelotti gets a reaction out of you, that result that you had at the weekend isn't so great for Villa. But yeah, we've got to come to Goodison, and we've got to win, because if we don't, we're definitely down.
Yeah, definitely. And then obviously we kind of just mentioned there, kind of Everton bouncing back, not something we're really very good at with some of the characters in our squad. Obviously, it's been spoken a lot about kind of our mentality and effort. It's quite weak. We don't look, our players don't look particularly interested. As you mentioned, Palace there look like they're kind of ready for whatever kind of pre-season we're going to have, whatever break we might have. So I think it's fair to say our players might not be up for it. Is mentality a problem at Villa? And if so, how do Villa kind of go on to win this game if it's going to be a battle of 2 teams who have kind of struggled to kind of hold on to games or see out games for the whole season?
If we go ahead, you always fancy us. We obviously, as with most teams, you're better when you go ahead. But if we concede, we just look so weak mentally. And if we concede one, it doesn't matter if we've been defending well for the whole game and we concede. We then usually go and concede another one straight away. And we've just conceded goals at bad times all season. Like you, we've had issues with set plays at times as well. We need to score first, because I would worry about us coming from behind. But I know you've got frailties as well, which is a good thing for us. I think it's difficult for Everton because you've probably got players playing at the moment that know they aren't going to be there next season. They'll know they're not in Ancelotti's plans. I think although the summer's going to be very interesting because of what's happened in the world, I think you'll spend a bit of money, and I think you'll try and mould a side that's more in the Ancelotti mould. And I think probably some of the players that are playing at the moment will know they're not part of that. So we've got to hope that the players that know they aren't part of it, instead of playing for a move, they've just completely down tools. That's the hope for us. But it is two teams who can be fragile on their day. But there's some good players on the pitch as well. But we haven't seen enough of that from Everton recently.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been a disappointing time kind of since the restart. We obviously started quite well, draw against Liverpool, beating Leicester and Norwich, which were good results for us, to be fair. Especially with, obviously, we'd expect to beat Norwich, but obviously away from home has been a problem for us all season. Also, not an ideal position for Villa to be in. I looked at the form tables. I think away from home, 19 with 9 points on the road this season. Obviously, this game is at Goodison Park. Do you think that really plays that much of a role since the restart? Obviously, fans on there. It's not been as significant. Do you think that could kind of go out the window now, despite Villa's kind of poor away form? Do you think that'll play much of a role at all?
I mean, as you say, we've been rubbish away from home all season. I think because of the way the world is at the moment, I think home and away at the moment, especially with our performances, that I don't think there's too much difference. I don't think it'll make a difference. It kind of feels like all games are at neutral grounds. I know they're not, but you know what I mean? It doesn't feel like there is an advantage to being at home at the moment. So I think a vociferous Everton crowd would be something that would benefit you. So for that not being there, I think that helps Villa. I just don't think there's an advantage to being at home in the current state of the world at all. So I suppose that's a good thing for us.
Yeah, I agree. Really, I think it was the Bundesliga that had that stat. Only like 20% of their home games were actually won since the restart. But obviously, it varies, in different places now. Most countries are playing that football again. And then kind of, you mentioned Grealish just there before. You rely on him too much. Kind of, how pivotal is he? And do you have maybe any other danger men you might want to point out before the game, or is it just kind of Jack Grealish for Villa at the moment?
He's obviously the main player. Everyone knows he's our most productive player stats-wise this season. He's the most foul player in the league by an absolute country mile, and that's in Premier League history before the season ending. I mean, I know people will say he goes down easily and things like that, but he does literally get hammered all game, every game. He is our main man, although he hasn't really hit top form since the restart, and that has affected us. I mean, it hasn't helped the style of football that we've been playing up until the Palace game at all, because he's basically playing as, when he's in the wing, he's basically playing as another fullback because we're so defensive at times. And you don't get the best out of someone like Jack Grealish by playing in that manner. You just hope that because we've beaten Palace, there'll be a bit more confidence in the side now, and they'll play with a bit more freedom, and that'll aid Jack big time if we just start playing a bit more with the ball, because it's a big ask as a creative player, as a number 10, when you don't have the ball to make things happen. You're virtually going to have to run from your own penalty area, run the whole length of the pitch and make something happen. And as I've said, we haven't got the firepower up front. McGinn's a big player for us as well. He's obviously come back to fitness after the restart, but you can tell he's not up to speed at all, although there was glimmers in the Palace game. I quite liked the lineup that we had in the Palace game. I'd say that's probably our best team at the moment. We've been playing with like centre-backs at right back and left-footed centre-backs at right centre-back and things like that. But at Palace, we had more balance. We had Concert at right centre-back and El Mohammadi at right back, who isn't the most spectacular player, but the one thing he can do is he can whip in a good cross. And Harahan came back into the team as well, who's really dangerous from set pieces, which is a big thing when you get as many free kicks as we do because of Jack.
Yeah, and how likely do you think he is now to stay this summer? Because obviously, if he goes down, you'd imagine he might move on. But if you stay up now as well, which I'll admit is unlikely now, I think, at this point. But even if you do stay up, can you see him staying past this summer? Because obviously he's been linked with a move away for, I mean, kind of since he kind of broke out really, obviously as a young player. Do you think now maybe it's just he's going to leave now, and would it be good if you go down for Villa to take the money? Because obviously you did spend a lot in the summer. Would it be important to kind of recoup some of those losses on Grealish now? What's that kind of Villa perspective on him?
He obviously loves the club, and I don't think anyone would dispute that. He's genuinely a massive, massive Villa fan. His family are massive Villa fans. He's had a season ticket all of his life before he became a professional footballer. So he loves the club. But the facts are that either way, whether we stay up or whether we go down, he will go. There's absolutely no chance he'll be playing for Villa next season. He's too good, and we're worlds away from what Jack Grealish needs. He's a player that's capable of playing at the highest level. His numbers stack up against most midfielders this season, and that's playing in a really poor side. And if you think about people like Maddison and Mount, who've already played for England, and that's got to be Jack's priority now. And I just think he's better than them, but being at Villa's completely hindering him. We're light years away from what Jack Grealish needs. And really, we've been lucky to have him for as long as we have, especially when we were in the Championship for 3 years. I mean, he came back last season and we went on a 10-game winning run, and that's what got us up. So no one has done more for Aston Villa in the last few years than Jack Grealish. So he will leave with his head held high. And I do think they'll genuinely be, if we stay up, there'll be Villa fans that would be surprised for him to leave, but it'll be no surprise to me because he hasn't got a choice. He's got to go. He's too good for us, and the club will make big money on him, even more so if we do manage to stay up. But he's got to go because he's too good. And if he goes and plays for one of the big boys, I'm telling you, the potential of that lad is unreal. I think he's still got levels to go, and playing in a really good team would really let him showcase what he can do. And I think he'd be a starter for England.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a progressive attack midfielder is something, I mean, we're crying out for at the moment. Obviously, Gilbert Sigurdsson's been way out of form, but I don't think we're going for Grealish now because I'd imagine he's going to demand quite a high fee. I mean, we can only speculate how much he'd really go for. But obviously kind of moving away from Grealish, is there anyone else you can see maybe leaving? Obviously, John McGinn is a player I would definitely take at Everton as well.
Yeah.
It just adds energy to the midfield, which is something we're just crying out for completely. We've really struggled in that department. Is there anyone else you can say maybe moving on as well in the summer that would kind of be a big miss?
I think Mings is one who obviously has played for England now. I think I wouldn't surprise me to see him go in the summer because, again, once you play for England, you want to keep your place and you want to be pushing towards the top of the league, and we're nowhere near that. If we go down, Mings and McGinn will definitely go. I don't see any way in which either of them stay, and between selling the three of them, we'll probably make the money back that we wasted in the summer, which is a good thing in some ways, but in other ways, it's really annoying as well that we did waste a lot of money in the summer and we didn't buy sensibly, and that's where we've gone wrong because we've not shown those players that we're heading in the right direction. I always thought we'd end at the start of the season. I thought we'd struggle initially and we'd end the season well and we'd get better as it went on, but it just hasn't happened, and really we've ended up getting worse. So we haven't shown our big players that we're heading in the right direction, and if we go down, which it looks like we will, there's not a cat and house chance that we'll keep any of those three. And yet, to be fair, I could see him again at a team like Everton. He'd do well at Everton. Like you say, you're a bit stale in the midfield areas, aren't you? He's the kind of player that you'd need. But I'd love to say that we're capable of keeping these players, but I'm really not sure that we are. As I say, we wasted the summer.
Yeah, and obviously we've spoken there about Villa's biggest strengths. Kind of from your perspective, what are our biggest strengths at the moment? Obviously, we know kind of our biggest weakness is definitely central midfield. I think that's quite clear for everyone to see. Or kind of our whole midfield. Obviously, Bernard and Iwobi, players like that have really struggled for goals and assists this season. And Sigurdsson and Davies don't seem to like the system at all, and Gomez isn't fully fit. What would you see as kind of Everton's strength? What are you most kind of worried about going into this game?
Before lockdown, Calvert-Lewin was on absolute fire. I think he was a certainty to be in the England squad. I don't know. He hasn't scored since we've come back.
No, he's struggled, to be fair, because he's got pretty much no service from anyone in the team, which is something he needs massively. Richarlison could definitely create more for himself than I think Calvert-Lewin can. But then obviously when Calvert-Lewin does get good service, obviously as we saw kind of before the restart, before the break even, he was a very good player and he was really pivotal for our form. But yeah, no, he's definitely struggled since the restart.
Yeah, him and Richarlison are the ones that stand out. Obviously, Digne at left back as well. He's a real source of creativity at left back. Probably, arguably, your most creative player playing at left back from what I've seen. He's a really good player. But Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison are the danger men. And as I say, if we concede one, and we've got this habit of players that haven't scored for a while, they'll come and score a goal against us. So I'd put all your money on Calvert-Lewin, opening up the scoring on Thursday. But with you, I'm just trying to look at weaknesses because we have to win and we have to go there to play the game to win. And I'm not convinced by Pickford. I'm not sure what the Everton fans' feelings are on him, but I just don't rate him. I think he's really, really regressed over the last few years. Every time I see you concede a goal, I always find myself thinking, I really think Pickford could have done a little bit better then. And there's just something about him. He's a bit erratic, isn't he? And he's a bit
is an understatement. Yeah.
But for me, he's someone that you target because I really think he's got a mistake in him, Jordan Pickford. He obviously had that good summer with England, but since then, every time I've watched him, I've thought you look suspect. You don't look like the keeper that everyone says you are. But yeah, I've got to look at weaknesses from your point of view and hope that we can exploit them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Pickford, he seems to just have a big mistake in him every game. Luckily, for the last kind of 3 games, it hasn't quite cost us yet. I mean, there's one where Keane's cleared it off the line because he spilled the ball. It's another where he's almost just spilled it into his own net. And he does make strange decisions, I think. And I think that is a big problem, really, going into these games. That, I mean, because obviously we've got nothing to play for now. We're not getting Europe. We can't go down. We're just kind of languishing in that kind of mid-table area. And I think it's definitely just a time for Ancelotti to look. I mean, I'm sure he already knows who he wants to get rid of. He will have seen in training. But it's definitely a time where he might even start to rotate. But obviously, you kind of mentioned our weaknesses there. Where do Everton win this game? Is kind of what would we have to do? Because obviously we've definitely struggled kind of, if we want to play like through the middle of the pitch, we've struggled with there. But we've seen kind of if we go long, kind of if we use Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison like that, we do well. Is that something that Villa are good at dealing with? Obviously Tyrone Mings, very good in the air. Or is it kind of a case of if we play through the middle, it's easy to exploit?
We've been good defensively since the restart. We've not been good at many things this season, but in general, bar the Man U game, we've been good defensively. We've shored things up, and you can say that that's something that we've worked on, but it's come at a cost the other end because we've just looked toothless in most games. I think because of that, I think it doesn't nullify your best players, but Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin, your big thing, I think, is if you score first, I don't see us going on to get anything. That's just the way it is. If we score first, I think we might be able to pick you off on the break a little bit because I think you've got frailties. But our midfield looked a bit stronger. Douglas Luiz, who I haven't mentioned yet, he's been very good since the restart. He was someone I wasn't keen on at all. So if our midfield's on song, obviously it's an area we can exploit because I don't think your midfield's the best. It's a little bit pedestrian at times. But as I said, if you score first, I think that will be the game.
Well, I certainly hope we can score first. Obviously, we've got nothing to play for, though. So I think it'll be interesting to see. Because I think, to be fair, if you're struggling for results, I don't think we're a bad team to play. Because obviously we've struggled massively. No. Arsenal are a bit fragile as well. And obviously you've got that game against West Ham, which could be, I mean, absolutely massive at this point. Obviously 4 points off them now, I think. If you win this game, which I definitely think you can, and West Ham lose, I mean, that's going to be a massive game at the end of season one. I'll definitely be paying close attention to. But kind of just to round off, do you have any predictions? Do you have kind of something you expect to happen, something you hope to happen, or any predictions really for the game?
I've got to predict us to win. Because we have to. If we don't win, it's absolute curtains for us. So I'll go with a 2-1 to Villa and hope. As I say, if Everton score first, that prediction goes out the window. But I'll go with us going 2-0 up, and then we'll do something stupid and concede a goal, and it'll be a nervy final 10-15. But like you say, you've got nothing to play for, and Palace had nothing to play for the other day, and it is obvious, and it's probably difficult mentally when you haven't got much to play for, whereas we have to win. So you'd hope that will carry us over the line.
Yeah, so there you have it. So thank you very much for watching. Obviously, hoping for, well, I'm not personally hoping for an Aston Villa win, but Dan's thinking they can win 2-1 there. Interesting, obviously, Everton, if we can score first, we win that game. I think if Villa score first, you'll win the game. I think it's quite similar. I think that first goal is going to be absolutely pivotal. But thanks, Dan, for coming on. That was definitely a good insight into Villa. Thank you all very much for watching. Be sure to check out Dan's social media and all our social media in the description below. And let's hope for a good result in the Aston Villa game. So thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.